Hello everyone, this is the real A-Town aka RGB Fox at Twitch, so follow me there where I stream Genshin and other games on a consistent basis. Real quick, if you love this video, make sure to like and subscribe to see more A-Town content. So I recently watched an Mtashed video about his current thoughts on the 2.8 meta where he compiled a tier list alongside with his thoughts. I decided I'd make my own tier list and post it on the Genshin Impact community group to garner controversy and respond to some of their comments. While I don't hate his thoughts on the tier list, I personally thought that he did miss the ball on some of the characters he listed, and that's the entire reason this video came to fruition, so shout out to the big man for inspiring this video. I am by no means trying to spread hate, by the way, so any unnecessary comments, hate, etc. towards Mtashed will not be tolerated, and with that, let's get on with the video. A few disclaimers about my tier list itself. I have them categorized from top to bottom as 10 out of 10 would recommend, sick nasty, solid, niche, can work with some assistance, and then the last two being hell no and does not exist. At least not yet, of course. By no means are they in order from better to worse in their respective categories. They are simply in the spot where I place them at, so don't get upset about me putting like Noelle under Lisa, for example. Aside from that, I will also leave the tier list up in the video a good chunk of the time just for reference. Barbara is solid and Chi-Chi is hell no. What's wrong with you? To be honest, I saw a lot of people write for Chi-Chi in the comment section, but the fact of the matter is that Chi-Chi is just simply a healer and that's simply about it. I mean, sure, she can use a clamp set and give you some off-field damage, but she comes with more issues than I'd like to admit. Barbara, on the other hand, is a Hydra applicator, and while she definitely isn't the best in that role, she can do it fairly well and is able to support your team with healing alongside with buffing your team with the thrilling tales of Dragon Slayers. Arguably one of the best support weapons in the game, and that is solely the reason why she deserves to be in a solid placement rather than a placement where you wouldn't want to ever use her. She just has way more benefits, and that for me is the most important reason as to why Barbara is way above Chi-Chi in this regard. I don't agree with Beidou, so many people don't appreciate her, is at least A to S tier for me. She works really well with Yoimiya, Ayatussy, DPS Sucrose, and many other characters in an Electro reaction team. Her shield's pretty strong even without building HP on her, and she has strong scaling on her normal attacks, her E's and her Q's, etc, etc. Her E is one of the strongest in the game, and she's still a 4-star. Well, I would have never guessed unless you told me. Pretty much every claymore works on her, even the bell. The bell is not that good, to be fair. I guess if you want to have more, shield strength, then sure. I see only the burst being an issue, but one solid substat with ER, another Electro unit, an animal swirl user, and she will be fine. You and many other my friends have also told me that Beidou deserves a higher spot. But putting her in the niche spot does not necessarily mean that, a unit is bad, specifically Beidou, but let's, be realistic here. Beidou does an amazing job of being an off-field DPS support and gives you a shield at C1 with added damage reduction from her burst passive. Unfortunately, she does come with a lot of restrictions. For one, her best teams are taser comps, specifically ones with Xingqiu and Fish, right? Yeah, she'll provide amazing damage, but don't forget that ER is also an issue for her, and even with Fischl, you're not guaranteed 100% burst uptime. She is a character that wholly relies on how well you build her, and her best fit is a team that also wants Xingqiu, who many want in the different roster to apply Hydro for Vaporize. Thus, her utility can fall. Occasionally, there's her being a support unit in Eula comps alongside overload teams, but they don't really perform as well as whenever you just place her in the typical Xingqiu, Fish, Sucrose team. I can easily work around using another character and throw her aside. Quite frankly, I do think I put her in the best slot possible for her best role, and that is simply it. Another player who doesn't know how to counter then says Beidou is niche. Put Sucrose on top, assuming he has a C6 Sucrose and not C0. Should also be a niche category since I'm assuming they're a support. Bennett and Xingqiu too. First off, let's be honest, Xingqiu and Bennett do not need a reason why they're 10 out of 10. And if you do need a reason, you probably haven't been playing long enough or you're just not utilizing your units. Ayatussy is sick and nasty, but it's all normal attacks and just hydro damage and a tiny bit of HP to gain additional damage. Seems sus, don't you think, Van? Well, you know what? Let's talk about it. Skill issue is not the reason why Beidou is niche. And even if you manage to perfect counter the attacks, which isn't hard, why do you think you'll get them 100% of the time? It's kind of idiotic. Anyways, when speaking about Sucrose, my Sucrose could be C0 and she'd still be at the top of the list. As an Anemo user that can group enemies, she is a valuable support for any and all players for her ability to clump groups of enemies together, infuse her burst for great elemental damage, although unreliably so sometimes, and she has access to one of the best 4-piece support sets being VV, along with being able to wield TDDS for massive damage potential on your main DPS unit. Her ability to dual swirl elements for dual VV shred and damage boost makes her a reliable team member in any situation where you're playing any elemental team, and that alone puts her in the 10 out of 10 category for me. 10 out of 10 is not simply for main DPS, just saying. Now when we talk about Ayato, I just want to preface this by saying, when is Hydra application not good? I mean, honestly, find me a reason. Oh. Let's see. Xingqiu.
一緒に頑張ろう。元気出してよ。痛い。みんなの声が
Good night. Oh. Saying Barbara is bad because of that interaction is the same thing as saying Xingqiu is bad because he has the same interaction with his orbitals. Or are you going to say that Xingqiu is not bad because of X, Y, and Z? We need to stop just saying this kind of thing. When discussing Ayato, not only is he an amazing hydro applicator, but he is also an amazing hydro damage dealer. Playing him in the national team will provide amazing support for someone like Shanling, who will be able to vaporize her Pyronado almost 100% of the time. His burst is a wide AoE hydro applicator as well as damage dealer, and further increases his normal attack damage, meaning that he is going to be really good suited for a main DPS role. I always love to bring back up the arguments when people ask whether they should play Ayato or Child in these type of teams, and I think that only further proves my argument on why I should have him in this top slot. Ultimately, I love his kit, and he can even wield a Thundering Fury set in the Taser team for fun synergy and to be able to have a quick cooldown on his elemental skill, meaning you can use it multiple times. Quite frankly, I stand by my play. Tier lists are inherently biased. I agree. Yeah. I feel you've put Shenhe and Beidou too far down. Shenhe is the best cryo support for damage in the game, and for all intents and purposes, niche shouldn't be a category. Units like Shenhe, Sara, Goro, etc., while yes, are not as flexible, they do what they're meant to do very well and not the best. Like, imagine if instead of Shenhe we just keep getting Bennett but different elements. It would be boring and would make Bennett useless over time. The game will cater to specific teams over general utility for the most part now. I will go out on a limb when I say that I don't think Bennett would ever become useless, even if there are multiple elemental attack buff units like Sara, but for like every element, because Bennett just does a really good job whilst also healing, and he does some pretty decent damage if you want to build him for that. That being said, let's discuss the characters you did mention. The niche category exists because a lot of the characters in there fulfill a specialized role. When it comes to a character like Shenhe who fulfills a role for a specific element, her being Cryo, and the other characters mentioned above, we must understand that it is simply true that these characters won't fit in any other roles aside from the niche they fulfill, whether it's buffing their respective element's damage or supporting it in a big way. It's hard to justify placing them in any team aside from Sara only because of her attack buff, which at that point is a waste because Bennett exists and universally he'll work most of the time, and even if he's not C6, there's plenty of characters that don't care about the pyro infusion that he gives you, such as Raiden, Ayato, Child, and so on. That's the reason, in my opinion, why they are in the niche category. Shenhe increases your cryo damage, and I guess physical, but no one really cares about that. Sara is able to buff Electro damage at C6, and Goro is able to buff not only geo damage, but is also able to heal if you have higher constellations on him. I think I speak for a lot of people, but I could be wrong. Like I said, this is my bias. But, if Sara's 6th constellation didn't include that 60% damage buff to Electro, I don't even think she would be in a niche category. I think she would be in the hell no slot. A lot of people are diehard fans of Razor, and I get it. If you were just like me, you played him throughout the entirety of your low AR ranking and probably even a little bit after. Razor does have some common issues along with Kaching and stuff like that. These premier Electro units suffer from a lot of similar things, funny enough. So I will go on with Razor first. Since Razor's initial release, he's been kind of cast aside because of his elemental counterparts, whether it was Hu Tao, whether it was Ganyu, etc. Hell, even afterwards, Eula. Ultimately, you can play Razor if you deem him fit for you, and especially if you don't have like another option, or maybe you have a lack of options. And regardless, he will still only be a suboptimal DPS in most cases. When discussing Kaching, 2 important factors must be determined. Number 1, if you're going to play her as a physical DPS, you do have better units to invest to. The cost effectiveness to play her is definitely lower when you think about other units that could just deal more damage. But, however, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't play her. Again, there is a lot of factors to put it together, whether or not you want to play Kaching or not. I mean, hell, you probably just like Kaching and her design, so do you, right? And then number 2, if you want to play her as an electro damage dealer, do you have C6 Sara and or C6 Kaching? Because if not, then, the electro damage is kind of in my opinion. Again, if this is your only character for the best DPS role and no others, by all means, play Kaching. She's not that bad, However, to say that she'll ever take the cake with any of the other DPSs shown above would be a lie. Now, to discuss the 2 bow characters right there real quick, I think Amber is able to fill a niche to provide your team a good elemental mastery buff plus pyro application, especially with Elegy of the End. If not, then I see no other reason why you would want to play her unless you have C6 and you just want to have fun. But if you have Elegy, she's not that bad. I do say that with a grain of salt, but I stand by my play. Now with ALOY, oh man, I'm just not gonna say anything else. ALOY does not deserve anything. Okay, we don't even have constellations for this character. Mahoyo just got kind of lazy with her, and I'm sorry, dude. I have Ganyu. I will never turn away and look at her. Ooh, my arch nemesis. I will go into detail potentially, maybe not. Let's just call this guy Wesker. Wesker says, bro, Eula is a meta breaker with universal damage and in the middle of a normal attack meta. I did not know that we were in the middle of a normal attack meta. Mona is still the best damage support in the game, and Zhongli is still hands down the best shield support. Even Beidou has a ton of versatility and offers so much to any team. Beidou, okay, well, I'm not gonna talk about Beidou no more. Let's start with Eula. This guy definitely just saw Dragonfly's video and thought, wow, he is spitting. And I know the only reason why he likes that is because he is a diehard Eula main. And that's what he's known for right here in the little group that I'm in. The normal attack meta definitely does not sound, it doesn't ring a bell. I don't think it exists. I don't think there's a multitude of players who are playing Eula just as a normal attack beat stick, physical official, let's say Yoimiya, yada yada yada. I think this guy definitely got a little into his head and just doesn't understand that the meta never really changed. Even with the new characters that we got, a lot of people are still playing Raiden Shogun. A lot of people are into Ayato, and I get it, he normal attacks, but I mean, it's not like that, prominent. And, aside from that, we just never really shifted, is basically what I'm trying to say. Eula is great and all, especially when you invest a lot into her, but, to say that she is a meta breaker, to me, that tells me nothing. That just tells me, oh, she's just a physical unit that can work really well, but that's it. I have nothing else to say to that. Mona is still the best damage support is kind of crazy to me. Yeah, Mona is her Omen, but that's about it. Yeah, she also provides Hydro Application, and I love using her in Morgana in some Ayaka team just to increase the damage of the Bloom, right? But aside from that, yeah, I just don't see Mona being the best in absolute every team that I would want, right? You know, there's better supports that I would 100% use in a lot other situations. And to me, Mona is just very alright when you really need her. And again, she fulfills a role when I want it, right? Zhongli being the best shield support, I'm not gonna argue that. It's like true, but I'm also not going to say that Zhongli is a must-have for most players. If you are on mobile and you're on mobile 100% of the time for Genshin, then I understand. Legit pull for Zhongli because it does make the mobile experience better. But I play on my PC. Quite frankly, I see Zhongli only important in a few teams, and even then, there's valuable substitutes. For instance, right now you see me use Zhongli in the video where I'm using him with my Melt Ganyu team. And why? Well, number one, Ganyu wants a shield. Why? So she doesn't get interrupted. She likes being up close and personal, even though she does have far-reaching attacks with her bow. But being up and close and personal gives you the 20% resistance chance from Zhongli, and it guarantees that you don't miss your shots, especially in a Melt Ganyu team where your Pyronado is important to apply Pyro to the enemy so you can increase your damage even further. Characters like Xiao want Zhongli. Why? Because the 20% resistance threat to Anemo is insane. Also, he loses a lot of health in his burst, so you want to keep him alive. Yeah, you can have a healer, but that doesn't guarantee it. You know what does guarantee it? A shield that never breaks. And someone like Ito wants Zhongli. Why? Because the shield gives him Geo Shred, and there's almost I don't even think there's any other character that reduces the resistance of Geo at all. You can't swirl it, so, you know, of course, someone like Ito definitely wants it so he can increase his damage, but does he need it? No, not really. Again, there are alternative shielders. Albedo having a lot of versatility, I mean, no. He can provide some off-field damage. He is his E and he is his Q occasionally, but aside from that, I can still use other characters. If you're using him in a Hu-Tao double Geo team, then I can see you like saying he has a lot of utility there because of his ability to grant Elemental Mastery whenever he uses his burst. At least I'm pretty sure he gives Elemental Mastery. Aside from that, you don't really need Albedo. He's a pretty decent character, and he does what he does best. But I could also use someone else. Like in a Hu-Tao team, I'd rather play double Hydro with Eula and Xingqiu. For the constant Hydro application plus the damage increase over time, and it makes Feeling Irrational fun. To round off this video, I see a lot of people legitimately hate it on Mtashed and whatnot, and I think quite frankly it's a little why the hate. Sure, I definitely have other Genshin content creators that I watch over him, such as Zion, such as Sajef. Every now and then I'll watch Tectone, just because he'll have some nice cool videos, because he is a C6 fiend, so of course it's fun to see super busted characters. But come on, man, leave the man alone. A lot of people said that he was cringe. Everyone that makes content is cringe. I'm cringe, legit. I think Mtashed definitely said a lot of good things in his tier list video, and for all the people that said that he said all this without realizing Sumeru was right next door with Dendro, he did. He literally mentions it, and he even, I think, put it in the description. So, stop looking at these type of things and then making assumptions based on what you want to generalize these people as. I think Mtashed is a pretty cool dude, and he gave one of the best takes of all time, and that is, don't pull for Kagura's Verity for your Lisa, because Lisa is, well, okay, I'm not gonna go any further because I might just get hate like him. But yeah, anyways, that will round it up for this video, y'all. If you like what you saw, if you like what you heard, please give me a like, subscribe, all that other good stuff. Comment down below if you at least agree somewhat, or if you don't agree, let me know why. I'll probably respond to some of the comments right there, but I think I'm pretty sold on what I told myself in this video over how I feel about the current meta. But of course, this is subject to change because Dendro is about to come out and it's going to probably change a lot of things in the game. So yeah, Have a good day, y'all.